What is happening, everybody? My name is Beth and welcome back to Every Day is Spooktober. Now, today's video, we are reviewing a film, obviously, but this one isn't, it says on Netflix that this is a horror, but it's actually a thriller. I wouldn't class this as a horror, being such a big fan of it. But yeah, I watched Till Death, which is a Netflix film that came out in 2021 starring Megan Fox. And it's always just sort of, I've always been intrigued and I've always wanted to sort of know what it was about. So I finally decided to switch it on yesterday and give it a watch. So we're going to talk about it and review it. So let's just get straight into it. Yeah, so I mean, I'd seen the trailer for this film and like it looked like your average thriller. Don't get me wrong, I do love a good thriller. One of my favorites, like Shutter Island, Disturbia, there's some really good like thriller films that I thoroughly enjoy. I thought I'd give it a go. Like I still class thriller to be, similar to horror. Obviously it's not frightening, but there's horror aspects in it for sure. I knew this was sort of set in like the snowy environment, like, it's cold, it's winter in this film, so I thought this would be a kind of a fun one to review, specifically for like this time of year now where it's getting cold, we're getting towards Christmas. Like that was just sort of my initial thoughts. I knew Megan Fox was in it, and to be fair, I haven't seen her in anything since like Transformers. Like I'm not a diehard fan of hers. But I was intrigued to see what this was about. It was interesting to see Megan Fox in this role as well. I have to say, for me anyway, I don't think Megan is like an amazing actress. I think she can act, but I think she can also do better, if you know what I mean. There's parts of her acting that are questionable, I think, especially in this film. There's like there should have been like more emotion, acted more dramatic to make things more intense. Whereas a lot of the scenes she's like, oh fuck, or oh no, ow. Like, it's like, I don't know. That was like, when I first started watching it, that was like my biggest issue, is I was like, do better. Like, we need someone to be dramatic in the situation to make it real. And obviously, for those of you who don't know, Till Death is basically about a woman who goes, it's her and her husband's anniversary, and they go to like this cabin, and he surprises her, and turns out that the next morning he handcuffs himself to her and then kills himself, so she's attached to him, and he hides all the weapons, everything within the house to try and get them free from the handcuffs. And while she's there becomes a bit of a mix-up, and a guy attacked Emma years ago, and basically after her husband kills himself, they have a really shitty marriage, and he basically sets this guy up that has already tried to kill her again, and basically, yeah, like he comes into the house. It's kind of like Home Invasion, if you like. That's the type of thriller that it is, although it's not as intense as something like The Strangers, if you like. But yeah, that was like the premise of the story, and when I first heard about it, I thought, this sounds like Gerald's Game. I don't know if anybody has seen that film. I saw it ages ago and I don't particularly remember it that well, but it has a similar premise where the husband handcuffs the wife to the bed, and then he kills himself, and then she's stuck like that and has to basically like find a way to get free. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, so it's another Gerald's Game or whatever. This was slightly different. I think, like, for me, for the most part, I think it was quite comedic at times. And when her husband Mark kills himself, she's obviously stuck in a position where it's like the only way to get anywhere is she has to drag his body. I don't know how filming went, but I'm sure Megan fucking found some muscles in her entire body if she really had to drag her around like an adult man with the handcuffs on. I thought it was quite funny at times, because a lot, like half the movie was just Megan dragging him around. And I thought, okay, come on now, like we need to change up the story a bit, because it's getting a bit silly. Like, okay, we get it, you're handcuffed to him. One of the things that pissed me off the most though about this movie has to be the fact that, like, the first thing Emma does when she finds out that after her husband kills himself is she shouts for help. Number one, they're in the middle of nowhere, and then number two, the first thing she does is like tries to call someone, the lines are cut off, her phone's been like destroyed, like that is the first thing she does. And I'm not gonna lie, if I was in that situation, the first thing I would try to do is try to break the handcuffs, but she doesn't ever do that. And there's so many opportunities that she could have tried to break the handcuffs, and she doesn't, and it annoyed me so much. The entire time she's dragging around her husband, and I'm thinking, just try and slam it through a door, break his like hand so you can slip that, like do something. And she just didn't, and she just dragged him around, and I was like, dude, if I I would not have gone through all of that, you know, like if you would just try to cut the handcuffs off with like something, a door, a drawer, like, you know, there could have been ways to do it, you know, if you thought creatively. And just because there's no knives around and shit, like it's still possible to get free from there. And it just annoyed me that that was never an option. And it's like, what, like this story's not realistic then, because it just seems like you're not trying, and you're just like gonna deal with dragging your like 6'5" boyfriend around who's like an adult man and is really heavy, like. And another thing as well is, before I watched this film, I don't know where I heard it. I remember hearing someone say like, it's funny in this film how they have to make Megan Fox look so pretty throughout the whole thing. So like when her husband shoots himself, she's got like splattered blood on the side of her face, but that's about it. Like there's no ugly, there's no like, you know, looking rough. It's just like, I'ma still look cute after all this has happened. And I don't know who said it or where I read it, but I completely agree with that comment. You know, I think she should have got her hands dirty. I think she should have looked like a witch. Like she should have just looked so shit. Like she was doing a lot. Like she was dragging her husband around for like half the film and she didn't even break a sweat. It was like, come on. I think they should have been more realistic with that, or even just cast someone else that was willing to get their hands dirty. Obviously we don't know why you know, the makeup department for all the gore and the blood was so sort of laid back, but I don't know if it was her, who knows. But I think, yeah, that was a bit disappointing. Like this film is rated 18 in the UK, so, and most of that reason for that is like obviously gore and blood, and I thought we were going to see a bit more, but it wasn't as crazy as I thought it was going to be, unfortunately. Like I said, they held back on the gore, I think. After like Bobby, the guy who once attacked her, comes back and they tries to attack her again, I think there was some like good action sequences towards the end of the film. Megan Fox's character made some good choices and like was smart about certain decisions. You know, it was definitely like, it definitely kept the pace up. You were on edge, you were rooting for her because this guy was a dick. And then, you know, initially at the end, Megan wins, and you know, the police come and everything's fine. And she kind of, you know, Emma gets her freedom. She gets her freedom and she's finally away from all the trauma of the past because Bobby's dead and her husband's not around anymore, so she doesn't have to deal with him. The sneaky link that she had is also dead. So it's kind of like she can start fresh now from everything that's happened. I think it was an interesting concept. I think like, although the story is very cliche, like house invasion, these guys wanting money and diamonds off them because they're rich, like we've seen that a million times before. So I don't particularly think that this idea was unique or different. I'd seen stuff like this before, and it's like whatever, it is what it is. You know, it wasn't a bad movie, you know, it kept me engaged throughout. Like it was like a bit of fun to watch, but I wouldn't say it was amazing, and I definitely wasn't missing out on much with not seeing it. So that's my thoughts on Till Death. You know, like I said, we've kind of seen this stuff before, so it wasn't all that crazy. I just wanted to dive into a thriller and do something a little bit different, but I think I might have to dive back into horror because I wasn't thrilled enough. I was not. I need some horror in here. If I have to give it a rating, I'd probably just give it like a 4.55 out of 10, like the average score. Like I said, it wasn't anything special, wasn't anything new. Seen stuff like this before. The performances were average. The story was average. It definitely made me feel like it was the winter though, so it definitely got that point across. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Did you like the acting? Do you think this is like one of Megan Fox's best films? Let me know what you guys think. She's the main reason that a lot of people have come to this film anyway. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching again. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.